Hello Wolfpack, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. In today's video, I'd like to change tack a little bit and discuss the benefits of travelling for your own personal, social and professional development. We are all brought up in our own little enclaves, and quite often, depending on the resident jingoism in the place we happen to be born, we think of our country as the best. We don't consider the fact that there just might be other places around the globe that offer huge benefits, that perhaps suit our personality and interests more, and have different kinds of people to socialise with, build business relationships with, etc., etc. Take women, for example. I've spoken before about the very slim pickings available for successful men in the West, and I'll include a link to the video on the topic. Richard LaRuina famously did an interview on Good Morning Britain where he essentially said that men who are winning should go to Russia to find a wife. I mean, his wife looks like a Victoria's Secret model, has a master's degree and probably plays the violin to a high standard as well. Disregarding the fact that Richard is a seasoned practitioner of game and has been successful for a decade or more, I think he makes a great point. Needless to say, he got flamed by the overweight red-haired harpy next to him, who didn't have a response for his arguments, and disappointingly also aggroed Piers Morgan himself. Richard has said before that British women are overweight, don't really care about their appearance, and are very entitled when it comes to men and relationships. They want a guy who is tall, 6 feet, earns a great income, is fit and toned and athletic, confident, can go on and on and on, but they offer relatively little in return. On his point about them being overweight, the data support him. Anybody can go and check out the Health Survey for England 2018 statistics, suggesting that 35% of British women between 16 and 24 are overweight or obese, but this increases to 53% in the 25 to 34 age group. In the 35 to 44 age group, it increases to 61%, and it doesn't get any better after that. So in my age group, early 30s, if I were to realistically try and date in the UK, I'm contending with the fact that every other woman I meet is going to be overweight or obese. This is even before I assess their personality, virtues, traits. You're on a hiding to nothing here, friends. We just have to accept the writing on the wall and move on. Don't even get me started on the early to mid-30s women that get thrown my way. Again, I'll include a link to a previous video with a story on the topic. They're looking for a partner to settle down with at this point, but each one, in my experience, has been jaded, tired looking, and the desperation is palpable almost to the point of garnering sympathy. So it's slim pickings out there when you factor in all of these considerations. In the wild, lone wolves will travel for miles in search of resources, namely food. In fact, they can cover hundreds of miles in a matter of days, and we need to emulate that trait. When resources are scarce, you move on to a place where they are in abundance, or your chances of finding them are greatly improved. And this is what I mean by travelling. If you're fortunate enough to have found my channel and others, like Better Bachelor, and you're young, say 18 to 24, you are well positioned to absolutely crush it. Work hard, stack coin, and go travelling to see the world, and you won't regret it. For myself, I didn't discover travelling until I was 28, as I was focused on working and building a career. And I wish I'd done it sooner. It's a huge regret of mine. Thankfully, I'm not encumbered by any commitments other than close family members. So I've resigned myself to the fact that my 30s will be my 20s, so to speak. Unfortunately, women don't have this luxury if they're serious about getting married and starting a family, but that's a topic for another day. The first country I ever went to was the Netherlands, Amsterdam in particular, with two of my closest friends. It was a great place and an exciting city. I ended up going back there to the centre of the country, just outside Nijmegen, to watch a different close friend get married to his Dutch fiancée at a marvellous historic castle that brewed its own beer. In the run-up to that, we even had a mini World Cup football match, the groom's party versus the brides, England versus the Netherlands. It was great. If you care for 420, Amsterdam has all manner of coffee houses and shops where you can get decent stuff, although I can't say that I care for it, to be honest. At any hour of the night, my friends and I felt safe to walk the streets, go to bars, walk down the red light district or whatever else. I was extremely impressed by the range of food on offer as well. We queued up for noodles and the vendor spoke to us in English, Dutch to the party behind us, and Mandarin or Thai, I can't recall, to each other. It was very humbling, as in the UK we have almost a sense of arrogance that we don't need to learn any other language because of the de facto status of English, and this breeds an ignorant and rude attitude in some people. Meanwhile, you've got these folks earning money for their business and spitting 3 different languages fluently. It makes you feel guilty as a British person. Separately, I mentioned in a previous video that I went to Prague to see a concert with my best friend, the one who got married, actually. I must say Prague is my favourite European city at the moment, but there are so many others I need to see. I love the architecture there though, there's nothing like it. In London you might have one building that takes your breath away, but in Prague there's one on every street corner. Again, it's a city where we all felt truly safe, beer was excellent and cheap, food was simple but some of the best I've had anywhere, and there was plenty of historical stuff to see. The public transport system was cheap and efficient, generally clean. In fact, the gig that we went to had an attendance of about 80,000 people, and all managed to get home from the airport venue on the subway, a Soviet-era metro. I remember getting back to the UK, landing at Manchester Airport, and waiting for 30 minutes after the train was due to depart before we started moving. I said to my buddy, this is at about 11 o'clock at night and we're tired after the flight and everything else. Which country endured a German invasion, Soviet invasion, and 45 or so years of communist tyranny? It blew my mind, and in that moment, I knew I had to travel more. Meanwhile, the women in Prague were out of this world, at least to me. It was like I'd been in the Matrix and was opening my eyes for the first time. Everywhere we looked downtown, in every direction, there were gorgeous women walking around. They could have been models, at least in my eyes. It was bizarre. A real eye-opener. Perhaps most important, in neither of these cities did I notice an overabundance of homeless people, drug addicts, people out of their mind, or otherwise. In my visits to the United States and Canada, that has not been the case. I have visited Toronto and other areas in Ontario twice now, and I have to say that there is a big problem, at least downtown, with homeless people, garbage everywhere. I recall going out for beers, and then some food outdoors with a party of friends. And just some random dude sidles up, sits down about 10 metres away from the party, and just hangs his head and mumbles to himself like, "Ugh, what's that?" And I remember as well walking down a main street, it might have been Yonge Street or Bloor Street, I can't recall which one, it was a long time ago now, several years ago now, but just some random guy, again dishevelled, hair all over the place, with his hands cupped together, just standing up and down with his hands cupped together and just moaning. I mean, you know, these cities are very lucrative and people pay a lot of money to live to contend with lunatics in the street. Now, if you consider the rural areas and the countryside and the wilderness, Canada and North America has some of the most amazing territory anywhere in the world. It's the political mismanagement of the country and its provinces that is leading things astray. And I only hope that the upcoming election in Canada can arrest or reverse the decline, but I'm not going to get my hopes up. I only visited America very briefly, so I can't comment too much on that. I was in Florida for a week and really enjoyed it, even if the July heat and humidity was a real challenge. It was my first ever visit across the pond, and I actually disembarked the plane in my raincoat from Manchester Airport. I left at 7 a.m. and it always rains there. But in Florida, I walked outside and was like, what the hell is this? It was like somebody had thrown me into a steam room at the gym. People actually live here, I thought to myself. No wonder everyone has a pool and a tennis court. What I did notice was more of a police presence as well. Just police officers sat in their cars chilling or observing, you know. That I haven't really seen in Canada all that much when I was there on the 2 occasions I went. And you rarely, if ever, see that in the UK. I think America has its issues at the moment. Politically, of course, there's so much division without going into too much depth for this video. I've always wanted to go and explore the place and get to know its people, build connections and so on. It's a lifelong goal of mine actually to learn to ride a Harley and travel from Boston to Los Angeles, stopping off at all the major cities and landmarks on the way. I think it would probably take about 6 months, but hopefully my American viewers can shine some light on this. I've also been to Dublin, Ireland, and noticed a very similar trend to the other Western cities. Very overrated, expensive, full of garbage, grime, weirdos, drug addicts, homeless people. Just like London, but unfortunately our capital city has more than its fair share of other problems with acid attacks, rampant gang and knife crime, random acts of violence, theft, and a police force too cowardly and inept, or is it the mayor, to address the problem. London is completely and utterly gone. Anybody who would want to live there is either a celebrity, an athlete, a successful business owner, or insane. You need 8 figures to live there and avoid the detritus, and even then, it's not guaranteed, given the ridiculous property valuations. I always say to my international friends, see London for the weekend, then leave, hire a car, and work your way north to Scotland, stopping off at strategic places along the way. Just walking around London you feel on edge, as if you're going to get robbed. I felt similar, but not to the same extreme, in certain places in North America. The women in England, Ireland, Canada, and the US, I've addressed in another video. But again, to reiterate, rampant obesity, tattoos, apologies if you're into them, but I just find them unsightly. So many women with sleeves and whole body stuff now. An entitled and aggressive attitude. They won't give most men the time of day. All they want is that 1%er. You've got to look elsewhere, friends. Long term, my intention is to move over to Central or Eastern Europe, as I've stated on many occasions now, here on the channel. I'd like to move to Prague or Budapest, but I really haven't travelled enough around the region to confidently settle. I think I'll definitely visit Ukraine, Russia, Slovakia, Slovenia, Croatia, Poland, Hungary, and others, just to name a few. Ideally, countries with traditional values at their heart, and I say this as someone in their early 30s. The West is rapidly becoming ethically and morally bankrupt. It's going to be like Mad Max in the near future, a lawless place, like Escape from New York. And those protests last summer, you saw scenes in New York City that, again, were just like something out of John Carpenter's epic film. In travelling to these places, you understand what works and what doesn't, what political systems, what the culture is like, the women, dating, relationships, industry, business and entrepreneurship, society and the family values that the country holds. Sadly, I knew people growing up that had never left their small and insignificant hometown, which is a real shame. Despite not travelling until 28, I always knew it was something I wanted to do, and I urge all of my subscribers and listeners to do the same. Go exploring, see if you like what's on offer. If you do, go back to where you're from, build your finances and passive income streams, and then buy something over there to start a new life. In following the lone wolf lifestyle, you have all of the tools and resources to make your dreams become reality, unlike any other lifestyle. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date with my new content, and I'll see you in the next video.